And welcome to the Free Your Geek podcast. I am your host, Jay Free, and welcome to Fantasy Fable Friday. In the twilight heart of the Starveil Grove, where light and shadow never part, one vow forged a hunter and a legend. You're listening to Starveil, the Oath of Frostwing, a 6-part origin story starring my Daggerheart character, Sylvaris Frostwing. Before the name Sylvaris Frostwing was whispered in legend, he was simply a fairy wanderer of the endless twilight, one voice within the Starveil Grove's living heart. This 6-part origin series follows his transformation from student to hunter, from protector to exile. When a swarm of glass-winged locusts devour his homeland, Sylvaris swears an oath that binds him to the Grove's survival, and to the shadows beyond its borders. What begins as duty becomes destiny, as beauty turns to ruin, and a single vow forges the hunter the Grove will never forget. Welcome to Starveil, the Oath of Frostwing. Previously on Starveil, the Oath of Frostwing. Marked by his first true kill and scarred by the crow's claws, Sylvaris now walks the border between life and decay. But in the ruins of the Amber Court, the forest's whispers take a darker shape. Episode 4: Whispers in the Amber Court. The forest still trembled from the crow's death. Its cry seemed to cling to the branches, fading only to return as a shiver of wind. Sylvaris moved through the aftermath with the lantern held close, its flame guttering in the breathless dark. The wound on his face throbbed with every heartbeat, hot at first, then cold, the kind of pain that sank into bone and refused to leave. He followed the trail of broken ground, not knowing where his feet led. The grove's light had dimmed further. Even the stars above felt distant, veiled by a thin, pulsing mist. He thought it might be the crow's corruption, bleeding outward into the soil. But the rhythm beneath his steps told another story. The roots no longer whispered of fear. They whispered of invitation. Ahead, a shape formed in the fog. Tall arches of amber-colored stone, fractured, yet still standing. The ruins of the Amber Court. Long ago, fairies of light had held their councils here, until pride hollowed their hearts, and the grove reclaimed their vanity. Now the place waited, half buried, lit only by the faint gold radiance trapped inside its broken walls. Sylvaris paused at the edge of the clearing. The ruin hummed faintly, as though remembering music. He should have turned back. Every story he had ever heard named this place cursed, where oaths bent inward and mirrors whispered truths not meant to be known. Yet the air around it drew him forward, heavy with promise. He stepped inside. The mist followed, curling through the gaps like smoke seeking warmth. The stones glowed brighter, revealing carvings of fairy figures whose faces had been worn smooth by the centuries. Their hands reached upward toward a sun that no longer existed. Dust motes spun in slow orbit, catching the lantern's light and bending it until it fractured into prisms. Something moved at the edge of sight. No shape, just suggestion. A reflection that did not match his own. He turned, but found only more carvings, each shifted subtly from where they had been moments before. The air pressed close, thick and almost sweet. The first whisper came like breath over glass. Not a word, but the sense of one. Then another joined it. Dozens, hundreds. Voices without mouths, memories without source. They slipped beneath his thoughts, echoing through the hollow place left by fear. You could stop it, they seemed to say. You could end the hunger. Take the strength that waits. His hand brushed the pouch at his belt. Inside, the 2 shards of locust shell and the crow's feather pulsed faintly, answering the whispers. The rhythm quickened, matching his heartbeat until he could no longer tell which was which. He clenched his fist around the pouch and forced a breath through his teeth. The whispers changed tone, softening. You are already marked, they murmured. The scar binds you. The hunt binds you. Why fight what the grove has made you? The lantern flickered. Shadows lengthened across the stones, forming shapes that might once have been thrones. In their midst stood a figure carved of amber itself, cracked but still gleaming. Its eyes were empty sockets filled with faint light. As Sylvaris approached, the whispers converged into a single pulse that seemed to vibrate through his chest. He reached out, fingers trembling, and touched the statue's surface. The stone was warm. Beneath it, he felt movement, slow like sap pushing through a frozen tree. His reflection swam across the amber, pale, wounded, uncertain. Then another reflection appeared behind his own. Him again, but older, colder, eyes hard as glass. This second image smiled. Sylvaris stumbled back, tearing his hand away. The warmth vanished, replaced by the chill of the grove beyond the walls. The lantern's flame shrank to a trembling thread. The whispers grew frantic, begging now, coaxing, promising. Power to protect, power to cleanse, power to destroy. He pressed his palm to his wound. Blood smeared the scar, dark against silver skin. The sting brought clarity. Power had never been what the grove asked of him. Only devotion. Only balance. He stepped away from the statue, the whispers clawing at his thoughts until the air itself quivered. Then he lifted the lantern high. Light burst outward, sharp and white. The carvings cracked, the mist recoiled, and the ruins howled with the fury of something denied. When the radiance faded, the court was silent again. Only dust drifted where the statue had stood, settling on the floor like fallen stars. Sylvaris stood alone in the dim. His breathing slowed. The scar on his cheek burned once, then cooled. He looked at his hand. The faint amber glow still lingered beneath the skin, as if a small part of the ruin refused to let go. A warning, or a seed. He couldn't tell which. Outside, the wind returned. It carried the smell of rain and ash, a cleansing mix that made the grove feel alive once more. But the whispers had left something behind, a subtle weight that followed him as he stepped into the open air. The grove would test him again. That much was certain. He turned his face toward the trembling twilight, Scar gleaming faintly under the lantern's light. The forest no longer looked familiar, and perhaps it never would again. Behind him, the ruins whispered one last breath, too soft to hear, but loud enough that the grove itself remembered. I hope you enjoyed this chapter of Starveil, The Oath of Frostwing. Join us next week on Fantasy Fable Friday as the adventure continues here on Free Your Geek. Thank you so much for listening.